another A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Dan.
I'm Tom. We'll get right to it.
Yeah, jump into it, buddy.
We got Mike from Mike's weather page on the line, and we're going to talk about this hurricane because obviously it's what everybody in Florida is talking about right now, and I know Mike knows about it. Obviously, yeah. I follow Mike's weather page. That's where I get my hurricane information, so that's it. Mike will tell us.
He is our guy. So, Mike, so tell us where, like, you're in your car, you're not in your normal setup. It seems like you're on the road. So, what's happening with this new storm?
Well, hey guys. First off, this is going to be a historic storm for many people. I mean, we're talking a once in a lifetime possible event coming to West Central Florida. I've got really bad vibes about what's about to come. It's just got all the makings. You know, I don't know if you've seen some of those TV specials about the worst case scenario in Tampa Bay, but we got a Category 3, Category 4, maybe 5. Who knows? This thing pushing water towards Tampa Bay and then stalling out. Surge is going to be the biggest story, I think, from this Ian. So, yeah.
So, Mike, because as far as I know, like normally when hurricanes are coming, I've been through so many of them, I don't even really bother to
prepare.
I don't prepare, but I don't pay attention until like 2 days before. Like when it's a week out, I'm just like, it wobbles back. Yeah. I've been here, I've done this before. It's like it wobbles back. The track is hard to predict 7 days out, but then it's like once you get closer and closer, then you start getting a more accurate, a higher percentile of what to know. So as of right now, it's a tropical storm, right? And you expect it to strengthen once it hits the Gulf of Mexico?
No, it's actually a hurricane, and it's hurricane hunters are out there right now, and they're finding pressures down in the 970 range. So it's intensifying way quicker than they expected. And once it reaches that Western Caribbean, South Gulf of Mexico, that is when usually you see these things blow up. So it's already blowing up. It's expected to run into an upcoming front that's going to weaken it a little bit on approach. That's kind of tricky because a lot of Floridians are seeing a weakening on the news of a hurricane, let's say landfall Big Bend area. The thing that it doesn't show, it's going to be a major hurricane just off the coast of Tampa Bay. And that's going to bring tremendous surge winds, to the West Coast. And even for you guys, Orlando, they're talking about tropical storm warnings all the way inland because this thing is huge. It's bringing back memories of Irma, where we can see storm surge on the East Coast all the way up to Jacksonville, Brunswick, that area, because when you get a rotating storm this large, you get squall lines that come in off of the East Coast, and they got a high flood risk tomorrow for Melbourne area because there's going to be storms coming in off of the Atlantic. So this is going to affect a lot of people that are probably not even thinking about it right now.
Well, let's talk about that, Mike, because like a tropical storm, I'm not, as far as Central Florida, I'm not really preparing for or worried about.
We usually deal with those.
I'll drive in a tropical storm. I don't want to lessen anything or make people not prepare.
And you're also not saying that to be like a macho man or something. He's just saying that as residents of Central Florida,
it's misty wind.
Yeah, we will drive in tropical storms. Traditionally, we have adopted to live here, and we know our way around these storms.
So I want to ask you, Mike, like as I'm looking at, but also I'm not going to say I'm not preparing for something worse.
Correct.
Wobbles over, we get higher, you got to be prepared, you got to be safe. But tropical storm, like I'm not cleaning the gunk out my generator or even bothering to take my patio furniture. Tropical storm is nothing to me. To other people it's different, but is there a possibility that it's worse than that? I mean, how accurate right now is the forecast and the track comparative to like tomorrow? Like, are we pretty accurate right now? Give me a percentile.
Well, the 3-day cone that the NHC has is remarkable, first off. So that 3-day cone has already started to touch the peninsula. The other story that's happening is our ground saturation is maxed out here in Florida. The rivers are at their max. We've had nothing but rain this year. So this is expected to slow down and stall. We're going to see flooding on top of the surge and the wind on the West Coast. There's going to be flooding across the whole state. They're calling double digits rain from coast to coast. And the problem we're going to have is this prolonged wind event. The trees have a harder time standing in saturated soil, so we might see more than average power outages because of this flooding problem that they're going to have. So it's a twofold event. We got a coastal surge wind, and then we're going to have this prolonged rain event, Central Florida northward, that's going to bring more effects to people. And the tornado threat's always there. The whole peninsula is in a tornado risk, so that's something you always got to worry about. Middle of the state, these squall lines, they rotate, and you'll see these squall lines coming up through for you guys will be coming out of the southeast. And tornadoes are always a real threat with a tropical storm or a hurricane like Ian is going to be.
So, Mike, and we started this conversation with you saying that you're concerned because it could intensify into a monster hurricane. And from what you've seen, I guess the analytics of it, how warm the water is right now, and obviously the forecast track and stuff, like it has the potential to do that. As of right now, though, I've seen it being predicted to like lose strength a little bit as it hits the armpit of Florida. But like I said, it wobble back and forth. What are the chances that it does strengthen to a scarier storm? Because not that even like all storms have the potential rainfall, all the power outages. Like in Charlie, I remember when Charlie came through here, I was standing outside drunk, and I was like, it's not that bad. It pushed down every tree in Orlando onto every power line. We were out power for 10 days.
I did 38 days.
Yeah, and it was just because the wind just pushed down wet trees onto power lines. They couldn't fix them fast enough. So
that's what happens.
So that's a huge pain in the ass, and like to go without power here in Florida is horrible.
It's almost unlivable.
Yeah, like you're sitting in your hot ass swamp house.
It's wet hot too. Because you get that nasty, because you're gonna have that rain for the next like 6 days afterwards.
So and I know, Mike, you don't want to scare anybody or anything, but you want to be just say the facts. Like what are the chances that it does intensify to a scarier storm?
Well, it is. They're peaking it at 140 miles an hour. Just off the coast of Tampa. So it is going to be a 140 mile an hour system. And what the guys have told me on the inside is that's a Category 4 storm surge. That's still going to be pushing along with the storm. Once the storm establishes that storm surge, even if it weakens, it's still got Category 4 storm surge. Right. It's pushing. It's like a tsunami almost. So that's the fear is some of these surge maps are like where I'm at right here in Oldsmar it's going to be completely. We're looking possibly where we could see areas that have never experienced this much storm surge ever. So yeah, and the point about the power is I did a convention with a supply chain company that supplies all the copper and transformers and the power restoration. The big concern on the inside is there's a lot of lack of parts and accessories and power restoration grid. They're worried that there's going to be prolonged repair because there's a lack of supply, and I've heard that from a lot of people. So there's a little worry that if we get a lot of power outages, this could go on a little bit longer than what people are used to.
Yeah, because I know how long we were waiting for like air conditioned parts, garage door parts,
copper, whatever, transformers, all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
We do talk a lot about how bad this is, but think about. I'm glad this didn't happen like mid-pandemic. Because think about how much of a mess that would be. You know what I'm saying?
And think of all the masks. Masks everywhere.
We did
masks flying into the air.
We did look out a little bit because it seems like it's been a slow couple hurricane season years, and then this is the first storm in a while that we are actually seeing going to hit somewhere in Florida.
Like 4 years or so.
Yeah. And so, anyway, but the supply chain issue and the fact of getting parts and things that they may need to fix I never even thought about that.
Yeah, it could be a giant pain in the butt.
So Mike, when will we know definitively what to prepare for? Because I don't want to I want to know, there's an 85% chance of this wind and rain hitting your house. Is it do we kind of have a high percentage chance now or tomorrow afternoon? What are we talking?
Today, I'm telling you, today is the day. I mean, we're going to start seeing warnings here. there's going to be massive evacuations occurring soon here in my county. I know some think it might be, the largest evacuation maybe we've ever had here in Pinellas County. You guys are all dependent on how much this thing wiggles to the east. But there's another factor coming into play that there is a cold front across the northern part of Florida, and that induces a lot of wind shear. So the storms out in the Gulf eventually get pushed your way. So a system out in the Gulf, even though you might think it's far away, a sheared system actually brings more rain and storms to the east of center. So again, I mean, tropical storm conditions likely for you guys, and tornado threats. I mean, nothing. There's really no models suggesting it's in cutting through the state, kind of like a Charlie did or Irma. It seems like it's really going to hug our side and just bring you guys the normal tropical storm, prolonged event. The only difference with this one is going to last a little bit longer as far as rains go, and it's going to start as soon as tomorrow. Tomorrow Tuesday, and then Wednesday midweek. So it's here. It's 2 days out. It's happening. And there's just a lot of people have no idea. I've never seen anything like this as far as the lack of prep. People think it's not happening, not even talking about it, it seems like. It's kind of snuck up.
You know what it is? Because I feel that way. Because I'll tell you, Mike, I don't know if you feel this way sometimes, but I feel like I'm in tune with the common man.
I've heard you say that about you say that.
It's a little dilly dilly.
Like, I feel like the common man right now.
I have dilly dilly. Like, I love the NFL. I love boobies.
Yeah, you like Hooters and beer.
Yeah. Like, I am just in tune with it, and then I think a little less intelligently than other people.
I've heard that too.
And so from 2 years of hurricanes coming,
being pretty mild,
and missing us, and then everybody getting freaked out, especially that one that hung around the Bahamas and destroyed Dorian. And everybody got freaked out, and we all prepared. I remember my wife had me buy wood that's sitting in my garage.
You might be able to use it now.
Put it up
now.
No,
we don't need it. Not
here.
You
got free wood.
If you lived in Tampa.
It's always good when your wife wants wood.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Hooters.
By the way, it would take a Category 5 Hurricane Andrew cutting right through my house for me to put wood on. I am never putting that wood up. Anyway,
I was going to make another Mike joke.
But from preparing and then nothing hitting for I think there's been 2 hurricanes that we did that. I went out, I bought the gas, everybody's freaking out.
Oh, there's gas lines here in Florida and here in Orlando.
And then I was mad when nothing happened, and then I screamed to the heavens, I'm never preparing again. And
look at you now, never preparing.
What's bad about that,
You're a man of your word.
is that I'm looking at this. I'm not preparing for this. I told my wife I started the generator. I didn't do it.
He lied to his wife, Mike. Said he started a generator. He never started.
But it looks like we'll be fine, or hopefully be fine in Central Florida. It's just tropical storm. But I think a lot of people in Tampa are probably thinking that same mindset.
Well, they're coming here.
Of hey, 2 times I prepared. It wasn't nothing. So I'm not going to do it. But you're saying
you got to take these things seriously, man.
Because every single storm's a different event. It's not like the one before. It's
They're all case by case, man.
And but I think human psychology is if you got I got burned once, I'm not going to do it again. Anyway,
the number one comment I'm seeing that really gets me is they see the cone, they see the line, the line that the NHC has. It's the estimated center of that cone. The cone is anywhere that the eye wall could go, and that is so deceiving because people focus on that line. And they think, oh, it's off the coast of Florida or Tampa, we're not going to get hit. First off, it's bad because the width of our storm is so great. They're still predicting 110 plus mile an hour along a big section of our coast. Today, the 11 o'clock update, 110 miles an hour for a large chunk of our west coast. But people see that line and they see it. They're like, oh, it's offshore. So it's very deceiving. And especially like you mentioned, Tom. When you see the Big Bend as a landfall, you're like, oh, it's going to hit the Big Bend. They don't realize that the effects of a major hurricane are going to be far-reaching. And so I'm telling you, people see that line. It's off our coast. We're okay. I've heard people say that, And I'm telling you,
I think
That's
we
what I've been
actually
saying.
said. I think you
I
got a
wrote
lot
that
of
on the
silence.
whiteboard.
Yeah, you got a lot of silence during that last part, Mike. That's because Tom
No,
and
I
I
know.
both actually said what you were saying.
No, because honestly, I think it's human psychology to be like it's either the worst or nothing. And
Yeah, gray area is not
and-
where you live.
But
It's not where you live.
The truth is somewhere in between with everything, and then it's like we'll prepare adequately for what they predict. So don't just say nothing, because tropical storm force winds and a bunch of rain and the potential to be without a power for a while because hey, they can't.
It's terrible.
It's so much devastation. There's so many. They get to you at last or whatever. If you're, you know what I'm saying, like. Then that's what we're saying. It's like, yes, you could be out of power for a while. Like, is your roof going to blow off here in Central Florida? No, but it's like, but then it's like in people in Tampa or anywhere,
if you,
it's all or nothing. It doesn't have to be.
Well, if you're elderly,
middle.
if you have a special needs family member, child, or like something inside that where you require power, this could be quite dangerous for you, and you need to take it seriously.
Or just get ready for a cluster F. Right?
Okay.
It's like,
or that.
It's like whatever that means to you, it's a cluster F.
Just prepare for the cluster.
I've taken this storm so serious that I've got the kids and Julie over in Kissimmee at a hotel.
Nice.
So I don't want that. I'm afraid of the fear for them of hearing, the 110-mile-an-hour winds. And so I've never considered that, but this storm's got me bugged. I'm really kind of nervous. I don't know. I just have this feeling. It's weird. It's just like, I think this might be the one that defines our generation, at least living here in Tampa.
Gotcha.
So Mike, are you going to storm chase? Are you staying put and then riding it out?
I'm a nut. I live for this stuff. I mean, I'll be in it 100%. I got a lot of friends in the industry that do, post storm recovery, and some government people and Weather Channel folks I'm friends with now. It's what we do. People don't like it, but that's kind of my addiction, so, but I got the family out safe, and that's the number one thing people were worried about, that I was going to leave them, but they're gone. So,
well, Mike,
stay safe, man. We love that you're doing this. Thank you for taking the time today. We know you're super busy.
No problem. I'd start that generator though, Tom.
No, he can't. It's too far gone.
I didn't do any maintenance, Mike. I didn't put the gas. The
stabilizer, good as dead.
The stabilizer. And then during Corona, I was like, oh, there's bigger things to worry about than Corona.
He also said his wife put a whole pile of Steve Madden shoes on top of it.
And then years went by, and then every time I went to go do maintenance, I was like, oh man, this is gonna take a lot of work to get started. Then I thought a hurricane will never happen again. That's how I convinced myself.
And here we
never
are.
happen again.
So I'm just crossing my fingers the power doesn't go out. That's all I got. But we will, Mike, if you're available, we will maybe call you in a couple days. If we're recording and you're in the thick of it, we may just give your cell phone a call.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be here. Might be on a roof somewhere filming Storm Surge, but I'm ready.
All right. Well, be safe, man. We love you. Be good. Tell the family we said hey, and thanks again, okay?
Yeah, and I've been on the Drew show a couple of times, and he gave you big props the other day, Dan.
Oh, right on, man.
Awesome.
I love Drew, and I think he's doing a lot better now. And if you,
he's doing great.
Yeah, if you
sounds great.
Yeah, tell him I love him and say hi to him. And man, we'll talk to you in a couple days. Okay, be safe.
All right, buddy.
All
See
right,
you guys. Thank you.
Be good.
See you, Mike.
That is Mike from Mike's weather page, live from his truck outside of a Walmart because he evacuated his family because he is nervous.
Follow Mike's weather page on Facebook.
He's the best.
You get all the warnings and stuff. That's what I do.
Well, you're not gonna. It's the no BS weather. He's just gonna tell you.
Yeah.
And if he did say that he is in that area and he is nervous, so take that for what it means, right?
Yeah.
Here's a man that respects the weather, and he's saying take it
knows.
seriously.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha, our producer's here. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
We're going to do a Chatting with the Masters that we've been wanting to do for a while now.
I mean, this is and I don't mean any disrespect, but this is the industry term, the white whale of like people that we want, the top of the heap, number one requested, what you and I have been this particular person wanting to interview for, I don't know, man, almost like 10 years now.
Well, since Fairvilla started sponsoring our show, which we appreciate very
much.
You sponsoring, experiment that we started years ago, and when you started advertising with us, it did help us out a lot because it's the way we could do this is our advertisers. But the owner of Fairvilla Megastore, Bill Murphy's here. How you doing, Bill?
I'm quite well. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem.
It's really great to see you, man. It's been a minute, and I remember when I first met Bill. And Fairvilla and the different incarnations of what is Fairvilla Megastore. It was funny that we were both a lot younger, but always it looks exactly the same party, same vibe, same kind of like always like somebody that when I met. And I don't know if you know this, but when I was first introduced to you, it was like you were the type of business owner that I was like, well, I want to hang with that guy. Like, I want to be around that guy. You were...
I strive to...
you're
Bill,
fun.
You're the quintessential Florida businessman that I want to be. I feel like you would be in the Hall of Fame of Florida businessmen.
Well, thank you.
Seriously.
I agree with
I
that.
want to someday get into the Hall of Fame, but I'm not going to make it. I'm the Flacco of podcasts.
Oh, wow. Hey, 2 weeks ago you were pretty good. 2 weeks ago you were pretty good.
Hey, I'm still playing, but no one will take me seriously.
Every once in a while, a little greatness will shine through.
Yeah, but no one, everybody's like, I can't wait for the new guy to come back.
Well, we got limited time.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it. So your business, Fairvilla Megastore, it wasn't always a sexual wellness, novelties, lingerie. It wasn't always this beautiful building. It was before that. Well, how did it start? How did you decide?
How far back do you want to go?
Well, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, was
always heard
it your
these-
first business?
No.
I was gonna guess.
Close.
I was gonna guess no on that.
Well, how did it even start, Bill? Because I've heard the legends and where you started and how.
I was always told, never confirmed. I was always told that it started as a theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So, tell us that. How?
All right. The beginning of Fairvilla Twin Cinema. In 1970,
All right.
a couple of gentlemen decided to open up a B-run movie house,
Okay.
which Fairvilla Twin Cinema was one of those. And there was a guy from Georgia and a guy from California. And they had a chain of these things. And it opened up June of 1970 showing MASH and Patton.
MASH follows me everywhere.
Yeah, MASH, Patton, decent movie.
Hold on. So they
It
were.
was the dollar movies.
Okay.
It was back in the beginning of the dollar movie.
Okay.
And they plugged along like that until 71. When I came to Florida, I lived over off of over next to Maxine's on Shine when I moved over
Oh,
there.
that's
All
a
right,
great
okay.
spot, man. Yeah.
And had kids and all that stuff. But I worked on the railroad and back and forth. But it started off, I came to Florida as the youngest licensed insurance agent in the world.
Really? From where, though? How old were you?
I was just turning 18.
That's very young to be an insurance
Yeah,
agent.
yeah.
Youngest insurance agent.
Well, my mother was the #1 Mutual of Omaha salesperson for 25 years.
Oh, there
and
you
I
go.
grew up with Marlon Perkins and Jim Fowler and those people in and out of my house.
So you knew how to do that just from osmosis, just being the kid.
Well, just being a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, but I came down here, went to work selling insurance, hated it.
Oh.
I mean, you're an 18-year-old kid trying to sell a guy a retirement plan. They said, what the hell do you know about retirement? You're 18.
Right. Yes.
So
Insurance is boring, though, Bill.
Yeah.
Although, what a pivot, though.
Maybe I was going to say the
Yeah.
most interesting pivot. I mean, from insurance to what's the obvious 180? I could see it.
my first real job that I got a paycheck from was running a movie projector in my little hometown of Yeager, West Virginia.
Okay.
That's spelled with an I-A-E-G-E-R, by the way.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Not to be confused with Chuck Yeager, who was from Lincoln County, which is over the mountain. And so I got a job there
Yeah.
as a projectionist at Fairvilla Twin Cinema.
Okay.
Now, when I was 13 or 14, still showing the movies in West Virginia, we had this Wednesday smoker night, and they would show these nude Russ Meyer movies.
Oh, yeah.
One show only. I met Russ.
You met Russ Meyer?
Oh, yeah.
Who is that?
Holy crap. He's like the god of big T's. I mean, this guy, Russ Meyer, like
I'm Russ Meyer.
No, all the hot rod movies with the scream queens with the big breasts and the hot pants and the hot rod kind of culture. Like I remember, like certainly wasn't my time because I'm only 46, but I remember seeing it, Russ Meyer, and I knew of him from like motorcycle publications and car magazines. He was the guy that had the big booby girls in the and they're dancing and go-go dancing and flopping all around. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met him in Las Vegas a long time ago, and when I came to Florida and then working at Fairvilla, it wasn't doing really well as playing dollar movies. So we changed over. At some point, I became manager.
Okay.
And changed over to showing softcore.
All right.
Adult movies. And
what kind of softcore adult movies were back then? Like, they were feature the only
they were 35 millimeter feature films. They were actually shot.
Like Boogie Nights, right? Like that's the only.
Like a Boogie Nights.
Well,
he thinks Boogie Nights is he thought it was like a Boogie Nights.
I don't know why I said it like that.
What are you doing? You're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry.
Sort of, kind of.
All right. So, and when you said this, was there any opposition or like, hey, we can't do
like,
that?
What are you doing? This projectionist has lost
or
his mind.
was everybody into it? Like, hey, that may work.
No.
Okay.
We went from showing movies that were expensive to rent. These movies were like flat rate. You just rented them out $50 a week, and then you charge, instead of charging $1, you charge $2.50, just because it's got the sin factor to it.
Yeah, it's something you can't get anywhere else.
Exactly.
So you can have an upcharge on it because that's a specialty movie.
We opened at 5 o'clock every day, and we closed at, I think, midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning.
So did that transition into more hardcore? Did how many people, did people immediately start coming, like you saw the record number of sales, ticket sales and stuff? Or like,
well, it did all right. I got out of the business after my kids were born. I said, well, I don't want to have them going to school. You got to worry about the friends at school. We'll talk about your daddy's
he's running the porn theater.
Movies,
yeah. No, seriously, it's interesting that I would never think to navigate that. These are the things people don't think about when also, they just see the successful business. They don't think about having to think about your family or kin or whatever.
So I got this job driving a truck in a air conditioning warehouse for a while, right across from Fairvilla.
Okay.
And then I got a job on the Seaboard Coastline Railroad as a brakeman. I became a conductor on the auto train.
Okay.
And then it just drugged me back into it. I mean, these guys came up to me and said, listen, the new owners of the Fairvilla said, we want you back. So I came back in and upped it up to like Deep Throat level,
Okay. All right.
Yeah, those are the classics.
Yeah.
Behind the Green Door,
Seka.
Deep Throat, Seka, yeah, Seka, right?
Seka, yeah.
Seka, yeah.
Now, did you?
I remember all.
She's
of
still kicking.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny too because like when I met Bill, we're still before I'm even I haven't met him here, but like when he knows all these or knew in the golden age
we're
of
gonna
adult
get to
films,
that,
like these people would tour and come through town.
So, Bill, did you know more about this, like the movies and what people liked than the other people? Like, I'm curious of why they're like, we need Bill Murphy back here. He knows porn.
Maybe he just had the cojones to do what needed to be done to make the money.
Like,
right?
Exactly.
Nobody wanted to be the hangman. And what I mean by that is they needed the guy that had the cojones to go, yeah, we'll show Deep Throat. Who cares?
Yeah,
is that correct?
Well, what I did was I made a deal with the owners that if I could have free reign, I would be on a graduated scale of rent, and I would take it over and I would rent it. And the more that I brought in to them, the more I got.
Okay.
So it come time for them to sell it in about a year, and I had taken my commission checks and not cashed them, and I bought it back with their money.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, Bill, we're gonna dive into a little bit more. We're airing this on radio, so there's a limit to what we can say. But your clientele coming to these theaters to
good
watch
question.
these movies. Did you have to put up a sign like, "Hey, don't
Hey, be cool,
Pee
bro.
Wee in here"?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Pee-wee.
You know what I'm saying? Don't do the Pee Wee Herman in
Yeah,
here.
or like, yeah.
Because but full well knowing as the business owner, like that's probably what they're here to do, or at least going to try to do, because they can't control themselves, or like they're going to be trying to hide in the background. They're still going to do it. Do you have to warn them not to? Is there people like spot checkers coming in, or you just let people do what they do, and then you have a janitor? How does that work? Sorry, Bill. That has to be a problem, right?
Slow down, man.
People are hammer handing all over the
freaking out.
theater.
Oh my god, almost like you want to go there.
Bill, we got an Airbnb.
Would you like to borrow my raincoat?
I'm just that had to be like an issue, right? Like,
Calm down, man.
I'm just saying, like it had to be discussed in the owners' meeting at the end of the day.
It's how you manage the flavor or the theme of your business. My buildings have always been scrumptiously clean. The bathrooms are clean. The premises are totally clean, and you keep that atmosphere. And like driving down here from North Carolina for this show today, I stopped at Buc-ee's. I've never stopped at Buc-ee's before.
Okay, I see it on the internet.
I'm going to buy my art in a Buc-ee's bathroom.
Yeah, because
Damn it, man! It's just
Yeah, smells good.
a clean establishment.
Yeah, you're right. It goes a long way. And that was one of the things I always noticed, even when I first met you it was a different incarnation of the Fairvilla building. And this is when you still did when people would try to shoplift. They'd take a Polaroid of the person shoplifting holding the dildo, and then they'd stick it up, and they were all throughout they're everywhere, and that would be the way that you got shamed into like, hey man, don't be stealing from us. We're a legitimate local business, and like I can remember all of that. But the one thing is the store was always meticulously maintained. Like everything was always like so nice. Yeah. And I guess that's the way around the stigma.
I never tell them that I'm coming because I don't like the smell of fresh paint. So it's always clean.
Gotcha.
So Bill, where like you're showing these movies, it's profitable, but I imagine like when do like VHS and that whole when does that start happening?
Oh, that's another 10 years.
Oh, okay.
What you're missing about what I've never talked about before is the fact that to make this jump from being an employee to the owner.
Okay, yeah.
There was a movie, and that one movie was a movie by the name of The Life and Times of Xavier Hollander.
Okay.
The Happy Hooker.
It's what your video is based off of, the name.
No, The Life and Times of Drunk at the
100%.
Bear, the porno.
100%, because it's
weird.
Yeah, but they were just making. There was like a tip of the hat to this film.
And I bought radio for the first time for any adult place.
You bought radio?
I was the largest radio. I was the John Morgan of radio back then. I bought every station.
Okay.
I bought Avails. I bought every spot I could get. I was the largest customer at what was the country WLO. No. What was it? The country station over in Pine Hills.
There was K92. There's LOQ. There's
Gene Burns and
I remember Gene Burns.
matter of fact, I just talked with Bob Poe the other day.
Yeah. These are old names. Yeah.
We should start that country station back up in Pine Hills and see how it does.
It was in the golf course over there in Pine Hills.
I grew up.
WHOO.
Yeah.
Yeah, WHO.
Yeah, WHOO. I know exactly, but I can't. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
My salesperson was named Polly Morgan, and Polly came over and she sold me this schedule, and I paid her cash for it up front. I never bought radio before.
Yeah.
So I gave her like $4 or $5 grand in cash. This is like 1980, 1977.
Oh my God, that's like $80,000 now.
I know, it really is.
And she went back to the station. She was whooping, doing the salesperson's dance, and the sales manager says, "You can't bring that money in here. We can't take their money."
Yeah.
And so she brought it back to me. She was crying. She had big old crocodile tears.
Oh yeah.
And then the general manager comes in 30 minutes after her and says, "You did what? You took back cash?
Yeah.
Let's work this out."
Yeah.
So BJ 105.
BJ 105. I remember that station. Yeah,
WORJ. Remember Rick Namey?
I do.
Rick Namey used to give me the station on April 1st for parody day. And we would make up all kinds of crazy things. We would have a remote from the Fairvilla parking lot called Irving's Rent a Raincoat. Come and see me, Irving. For 25 cents, I will rent you a raincoat to wear into Fairvilla Cinema. Where, you may ask, does the 25 cents go that I give to Irving? It goes to my son, who is in college, who is not going to make it.
Oh yeah. I love this.
Now this was
He's
still
doing
Fairvilla
bits.
Cinema,
Yeah.
and back in a lot of radio stations were all of them were like mom and pop. So because it's funny when we got more corporate, then they started getting
snatched up into groups,
and they started like, oh, we're like scared of advertising anything that risque or So even with the mom and pop, there was a little bit of that, but you're paying in cash. So by the way, Bill, you could pay us in cash for any advertising. Anytime you want,
Thanks,
meet you.
Bill.
I'll meet you in front of your house. Hello.
He lives in North Carolina.
and we never
I'll give you
return
a
it.
post-dated site rent. Don't worry about that.
So the Fairvilla Cinema is thriving. How would I'm sure as you got more popular, would these movies that you rented, would they know or would they catch wind that other companies were making more money and wanted to rent them out for more amount of money to you, or they never changed the
I
rate?
didn't get into that end of it. One movie that I did do, though, was with Marilyn Chambers. And God, I love that woman. She's a good friend to this day.
Legendary in the business,
The
right?
movie was called Insatiable. And I tried to rent a hot air balloon to ride down I-4
I love it.
during rush hour in the morning.
Didn't we try to rent a hot air balloon?
Yeah,
I think
They-
we're just the younger, less attractive Bill Murphys.
You wanted a blimp, didn't
Yeah,
you?
we
were
trying to do a
We
blimp.
tried to order a blimp, and we are going to fly down I-4.
They wouldn't rent it to me. So I bought
Us
it.
either.
You bought it? You bought it?
Oh, we didn't do that part. We didn't do that part.
I was like,
Big
we
D
heard how
energy.
much it was, and then we politely
off,
excused ourselves.
You know, that's a true story. Is that the Grand Bohemian, and I took champagne to go. I was like, well, I'm taking this if we can't afford your blimp.
Bill, you bought a hot air balloon,
Yeah.
and did you have to buy,
No, he didn't
rent a
just buy
pilot?
a hot air balloon. He bought it for the movie Insatiable for Marilyn Chambers, which makes the story even better.
Yeah.
So what? Did you get find someone that could pilot it, and then
Of course.
and then just they
No, you just let Marilyn Chambers.
and you fly it over I-4?
Yes. The prevailing wind would go at that time of the morning, at that time of year, went from Daytona Beach to Tampa and went right down I-4 during rush hour. And then when the wind clocked, we put it down on the South Trail. South of I-4 was a parking lot for Miller's department store, if y'all remember that.
Okay.
It was Zare.
Oh, Zayres.
Miller's.
Oh, Miller's.
And we had it there Sunday morning staked out in the parking lot. We run it up and down on a winch, basically. And there was this lady came by and didn't even look up in the air. She had her 14-year-old son in the car with her, and so she was going to let him learn how to drive in the Miller's parking lot on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning with this hot air balloon tethered out there in the middle of the parking lot. Well, he immediately drove into one of those guy wires and flung everybody out of the hot air balloon, broke a guy's back.
Oh, my God.
I thought the story's going in a different direction.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh my God! I was just having fun with the story, and now the kid
He drove into the guide wire holding the balloon steady,
Yep.
and
with the porn star in the balloon.
No porn star.
Or no porn star. Okay.
and it flung the people out of
Yes.
the basket.
Oh, my God.
How
Yes.
high was it?
10 feet.
Okay,
Not
all
far.
right.
I'll still kill you
Oh
if
my
you
God.
land right.
It's not right. Yeah.
So, is it broke someone's back?
Yeah, broke a guy's back. Yeah.
God, they're crazy. Also, at a time where I
These
feel
are the
like
stories you love, by the way, where it's like no one is like,
What?
and then the guy, he was fine. Did he live? The guy's okay.
Yeah, he got between. I had rented the space from Miller's legally, legit. So that was
Yeah.
that was covered under their insurance, and then my insurance, and then of course this lady's insurance.
Sure, so he's all right.
Oh, they're Turkey. All right.
Yeah, it's fine.
But now we live in a world where, like, if someone has a heart attack in your Airbnb, you'll be sued out of existence. I'm like, what do we do? We didn't do nothing.
I did nothing. I just rented my house as a good friend.
Now it's like we have the hot air balloon. Someone flies out of it, broke his back, and then it's like, oh, our insurance is fine. Like,
so
move
how
on.
far into? So you're the movies are going big. You're playing them. You're getting into that. When did you decide to make the flip? To like, you know what? I think that we can get people to come. We can get this to be like an epicenter of like sexual products. Like.
Well, that started getting. I opened up a video store in my old office called Poncho's Video.
Okay.
That sounds like something you'd open, right?
I like that.
I like that too. Poncho's
VHS had just come out.
Okay.
And I thought, well, maybe I could rent some of these out. So
were they adult or just regular?
all adult.
Okay, all adult.
I mean, that
Now, I
industry
even
was
rented.
huge.
I'm 46, but I even rented and loved. Man, I'd get so excited knowing that they got. I loved it. I was like,
Like,
you rent up at Video News.
You know-
It was the only place that had the back room with the curtain.
you know
Well,
what's
see,
funny?
the back room is what paid all the rent. That's what made all the money. All of the other stores, they were just out there with just
Regular
Mom
stuff.
and Pa
yeah,
stuff, yeah.
nobody wants that. Yeah, you
But
could
you-
rent that at Goodings or Albertsons.
Red Box or whatever.
Yeah, it wouldn't even matter.
You know what's interesting is, Daniel, we and our parents' generation are the only generation that grew up on the same porn. And I'll explain.
That's gross.
Well, check this. Well, follow my logic here.
Why are you telling me this?
No, it's because it's true. Think about it. It'll never happen again. In the fact that our parents bought the first VHS tapes in the 70s and 80s or whatever,
Yeah.
porno tapes that we were first exposed
true.
to.
That's true.
As our generation in our 40s, that's the first porn I saw was my dad's old
VHS,
porno
yeah.
VHS, which is the first porn he saw because it's when VHS was invented, unless he saw it at a movie theater or something like that.
No, you're forgetting another outlet there. Dan.
What?
There were guys that went around and with that, and they sold Super 8 and 8mm blue movies. They called them stag films.
Okay, yeah. Was that
The
the
trunk
less
of the car.
popular though, right?
That was a big business.
Okay.
That was a big business.
Yeah,
See-
the 8mm. I mean, that's why they've had a lot of a resurgence of that. They've got hipsters now that
They
collect.
called them smokers. Yeah.
Yeah, they collect though now. Even now, they're very coveted. These classic adult movies are extremely in right now.
But the 8mm were harder as a kid of me and Daniel growing up to
A lot to do.
put
Yeah, a lot
onto
to
a
do.
projector. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? We're just
It's gonna be
taking
hard
it.
to clean that up if I hear with the garage. My mom's coming home. It's gonna hard to put the projector away.
Yeah, we're taking the VHS tape and putting it into our VCR that we
That
have in
was
our room
hard.
or whatever.
That was our kids now.
Yeah.
They just hit X.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easy. I can do X all day long, but I had to stop the VCR tape, rewind it to the same spot my dad rewound it to, hit pause, eject the tape, put it back in the brown paper bag, fold the brown paper bag the way my dad folded it, stick it between the two Bibles, close the Bibles, pull down the. It's like a whole thing. You had to hide it the same way he hid it.
So, Bill, when the VHS and the video element started, were you and your partners, or you freaked out oh man, this is going to kill?
Poncho's is open now.
Well, yeah, I mean you opened up
Ponchos. Do you know why we called it Ponchos?
Why?
Because there was a Fairvilla and there was a Darkvilla, and this was a thing that Randy Molnar came up with from BJ 105. He was my copywriter. There was Fairvilla, and there was a Darkvilla named Poncho. They're brothers. One had a theater, and one was a Mexican revolutionary. So we named the video store after Poncho, the brother.
That's funny because I forgot back in earlier radio, they used to actually turn their advertising campaigns into storylines and things that
They put more effort into it. Yeah, I actually like it, and I'm one of those guys. I love a good. Did we flesh this out?
Curated character.
Yeah, we got the character. Who's his sister? Who's
Well,
the love
when I'm
interest?
driving on the highway, I listen to the old radio shows while I'm driving.
Right.
Because it actually paints a better picture than a TV show would.
Yeah, because you're
there's
using
no
your
visual.
you're
Yeah,
using
yeah,
your own
yeah.
imagination. It can go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people like listening to baseball. Some people prefer listening to it and never watching it. It's like some audio version of a lot of things. Talk radio is that way. I can't ever get into watching talk radio. I try to watch podcast interviews, and I'd rather listen to them for whatever reason. So Bill, with the advent of the VHS and that, and you starting Ponchos, was it just like a natural pivot? You're like, all right, well, we'll just pivot to this, or were you?
Then I brought in some toys.
Okay.
And some magazines. And a friend of mine taught me into doing it. I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to do it. But he said, try this, you'll like it. So I tried it, and I sold out in a weekend. What the hell? Let's try this. Let's do this again. So I was buying, processing, selling basically everything myself.
Okay.
And a good friend of mine, Jerry Cooper. This goes back to the days of Gene Burns and Bob Poe. And Gene Burns was a junkyard dog. If you come up anywhere near the First Amendment, he was on you like ugly on a monkey. He was probably the most literate person I've ever known. And then Jerry Cooper, who was my partner in Ponchos, we were also partners in several magazines, actually magazines around town that were family-friendly magazines, newspapers and such.
Right, gotcha.
We bought a boat. We're over in Titusville. I'd never been to Ron John Surf Shop.
Okay.
So he took me over there one night around 8 o'clock at night. We walked around and said, holy hell, I got to build a store like this. And so if you'll look at Fairvilla, the way it's laid out, it's laid out like Ron John.
I never thought of that. If you know both stores and you're a native like we are, and have been to
That
both,
wooden mezzanine is that way for a purpose.
that's crazy. The stairs and everything.
Open in the middle,
wide
and
open.
then second story, but it's you go around. Yeah, you're right.
If
100%. Oh my
if
God!
it works, I'm not above stealing your idea.
Oh my God! And Ron John throws the parties inside. You guys
Yeah.
throw the parties inside.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. Surfboards are dildos. Dildos are surfboards. My God, my mind is blown. I never put that together.
Don't forget the lube. You gotta surf on the lube.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta have it.
Bill, I'm curious, around this time, were you getting any sort of, like, you mentioned you not wanting to be in this business at first when your kids were born because the stigma of it, but like how much of that stigma carried on to other business? Like did people not want to do business with you because of this, or did people not want to I don't know. Was it anything where people in around the community
I had a
were like,
battery company one time, which we since worked out with them. A battery company that would not sell me AA or D or C batteries because of where I was putting them.
Really? Like, I'm sorry about that, Bill.
That's Javier. Can somebody go out there and tell Javier that, like, hey.
Right.
They finally realized, maybe he sells a lot of batteries. Let's.
Yeah, of course.
I think Bill Murphy's in there.
Well, it's especially now we're talking like what year is it where the VHS store Ponchos, when did that happen? Like
Ponchos was like 1979, 80.
Okay.
81, 82.
How many other stores around Florida or Central Florida were doing this? Did you have a main competitor?
No. Well, when I was in the theater business, I had built when I built it, it was called the 441 Premier Cinema.
Okay.
And it was the old adult bookstore, which I showed Deep Throat in that building for 11 years.
Wow.
On the South Trail.
Talk about like a different time where things
really
have
is,
longevity.
man. Yeah.
Like now it's like we see something, we're like, I'm done with it, never watch it again. It's just like, and 11 years of
the
Deep
Island
Throat.
Boys look at a Deep Throat. They're like, oh my God, if I'd only had a little more longevity.
Well, if you think about it, somebody turns 18 every day.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And they haven't seen it.
Yeah. And then not only that, it's the power of sex is gigantic. It's like, as you know, it motivates people.
God, you were looking right in my eyes when you said that. And it was like, we've never had a discussion
I
like
noticed
that.
that.
I know.
Wow.
It is like the power of sex is.
Well, and
I'm like, yes, it is.
honestly, and then especially in a society that suppresses it, it
Yeah.
makes it even more powerful. And then it's like, so then with that kind of power, it motivates people to spend money to want to see that.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, how were you able to navigate?
I'm surprised there weren't. Why I even asked that? I was surprised there's not more people that were in this industry, just because it seems like an easy way to make money, because so many people.
I don't think it's easy.
Are
though.
sought like
It's not easy.
Seek
is
it out.
No.
No.
The amount of stuff that you've had to, like, because I feel like,
Well,
and
no,
I
yeah,
could be
everybody-
wrong, but it feels like, yes, there's money in it, and yes, people are into it, and you're very popular, but it feels like the amount of BS that you've probably had to deal with because it's what you've chosen. Is that correct, you
Who
think?
in this room have been arrested before?
Detained only, so I can't raise my hand.
Yeah, never in handcuffs.
Yeah.
200 times.
Yeah,
200 times.
Oh,
That's the
man.
pain in the ass part. I knew it.
Over
There's-
what?
Nothing, probably.
Violation of Florida Statute 847.011. Exhibition of lewd and obscene motion picture film.
So they would just come to your business and arrest you?
Gotta arrest
Oh,
somebody.
dude, it
It's
was-
usually the manager.
Gotta be
The-
somebody.
Yeah.
So
Somebody's going downtown.
Oh, my God.
and
that's
how
so
would they
stupid.
even decide to do that? Were they just randomly like, oh, let's go pick up Bill again this week, or like would they do it as like a?
Well, there was. All right, let me give you an example of, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a church, a rather large church, out west of town, and they decided that they were going to put me out of business by continually picketing me.
Oh, God.
Well, I looked at it and said, what am I going to do now? So I called Channel 6, Channel 2, Channel 9, AP, UPI, all the wire services. And I said, bring your cameras. Come on down. Let's do this. So I would go into the actual theater itself, get them popcorn and sodas because it's hot out there, you know.
Yeah.
And so I would keep them refreshed and hydrated and just make sure that they love me.
The news or the picketers?
The picketers.
Okay.
Yeah. Just treat them with kindness. I mean, you know.
Well, they kept it up for about 2 weeks. I said, now you guys go be here tomorrow now, right? Because we got another film crew coming in out of Atlanta. I said, yeah. So the following day, they brought me a devil's food cake.
The picketers.
The picketers. And the first time I'd ever been called incorrigible was at that time. Here's a cake for you. We're stopping. You're incorrigible. And that was the last I saw of him.
What's the symbolism? The devil food? Is
That's
that,
what I was thinking.
is that what they were doing?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going a
Well,
long
so-
way. Still, was it a
We're
good?
talking Baptist here now, you know.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know?
they'll go.
It's good.
Yeah, they'll go.
So you just kind of leaned in. You almost took the power away by being extra nice to them instead of.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, because you turn the hose on them, and then their
giving them
resolve,
fuel.
their resolve gets
Yeah.
more, and then they'll be there longer. If you're nice to them, they'll soon just give up.
Right.
It's brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
You know, like it's obvious, but not an obvious move for anybody. Like your first emotion is get mad at these people and try to be as
Well, that's
mean
me.
as possible.
I'm gonna put the
Yeah.
hose on a guy. You know, like I'm a reactionary person. So how do you know, the things going? You've had to navigate all these different, changes, people picketing, people acting crazy. But how do you change, or how do you navigate rather like technology? You know, you've got VCR tapes coming in. Well, we know that VCR tapes eventually is going to become DVD, and that's going to become Blu-ray, and then eventually MP3s.
Well, there was CD-ROMs in between those. We had all those too.
So you were doing all those.
I went to every national convention. Our convention back in those days was connected directly with the Consumer Electronics Show, the CES.
Oh yeah, we've been to that.
And but the first one that I went to was in San Francisco, and it wasn't CES. It was AFAA, Adult Film Association of America.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's where I met Mitchell Brothers and John Holmes and Nina Hartley and
So like the sort of the legendary golden age of like what is that, late 80s?
well, there wasn't
early 80s?
There wasn't, but maybe 250 of us there.
Right.
You know, and there was a guy named Reverend Ted McIlvaney. He had the Church of Sex, basically, in San Francisco. And
that sounds great.
he was a doctor. He could write you a prescription for sexual therapy,
Oh wow.
and your insurance company would pay for it.
Oh, that's cool. What a gimmick, man! That guy was doing.
I
it.
see the wheel turning in Tom's head.
Well,
Yeah.
Bill-
he loves a good gimmick.
Bill,
He's a businessman.
Like, I want to know, and I'm not sure how much you want to talk about it, but like, and
Also, give you our time perimeter.
No,
too.
I-
I'm looking at the time.
but from what I've seen in Boogie Nights, and I'm
Oh, here we go.
You know that wasn't a documentary, right?
is that
Boogie Nights.
I just, in my mind, and you can tell me if this happened or not, Bill, there is some sort of old Florida party at some mansion with a pool, and there's porn stars there, and the
Wayne Trout used to have those parties. Jim Phillips talks about Wayne Trout's porn star parties all the time when he comes in here.
And then I imagine a Bill there. He's got 1970s tiny Dukes
White
on
with a rainbow down the side.
Yeah.
My dad wore those.
Big gold chain, Florida,
Hairy chest.
Yeah. And then and there's porn stars, because like
Gold bracelets.
I'm curious too. I imagine the porn stars used to come down and hang out at the.
Well,
at
how
the
do you
store
think I
and-
got to meet Bill? Because they'd come
Yeah,
in
yeah,
on
yeah.
the radio.
So I imagine there was parties associated with that. Was there that type of thing, Bill?
What type of thing would that be? You got to be a little bit more
That was a
specific.
professional answer, by the way. That's how you answer. That's how you answer.
I'm just saying.
I'm not sure.
Were you
Can you repeat
poolside
the question?
in an old school Florida private porn star party?
Well, you became friends with a lot of people that are actually performers in the industry, right?
Actually, I never dipped my pen in company ink.
Sure.
That's the one thing that would be your downfall at any time. And I'm not a pimp, so I didn't bring porn stars to have sex with people.
Yeah.
I specialize in you get to meet them and talk to them, and then you go home.
Right.
Of course. I'm just saying I imagine they'd hang out for like the pool party at the house that I've seen.
You
in
just
Boogie
want a
Nights.
spicy Boogie Nights pool party.
I just want to look at I want to imagine that really happened because
Well, I'm sure that he had more access to women walking around being nude than you and I have.
Every day of my life, I've seen naked people.
no, see that's
Hey, is that
I
the
knew
question?
it.
I mean, you
should've
just
just
got to
asked that.
phrase it correctly.
I don't know. I've never. I have kids. I don't even see that.
Yeah, he doesn't even show.
I go,
He's ashamed of
days.
his naked body. Do you wear a coat in your
Well,
house?
you know what, and I mentioned this before, is what's really neat about how Bill would treat these celebrities
Like humans.
like
like real people.
Yeah, and we all
know who said
became
that to
really
me?
good friends.
You know who said
I didn't
that to
realize
me?
how bad it was until Deborah's told us that before too. Like people's like treatment of like
Julie
porn
Ashton
actors.
told me
Julie
that.
Ashton,
Julie
yeah.
Ashton told me that the reason that she likes Fairvilla, and this is a personal quote to me, was like because you guys treat her like a real human instead of like just a naked
We
person.
put them in
that-
good hotels.
Yeah.
We make sure they're fed. We talk and we get to know each other. And Bill, that was one of the first things when I walked in the company and we started having, I got involved in events, and Bill made that very clear that this is the way that we're going to treat people like they should be treated. Doesn't
Right.
matter what they do, or we're here to work together, and I think that's a real testament to his legacy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Bill, I mean, it's just a business, and you're a brilliant businessman, and then it was just all about the business to you. Although I do equate it to like, we joke around about radio DJs and hosts and stuff. Like it attracts a lot of narcissistic people and egomaniacs. I imagine this industry does attract some scumbags, and you have to have dealt with that in the. In the time of doing business, and
Not very long.
yeah, because they're out of business fast, right?
Well, I don't have time for them.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So once you realize that, this guy's a POS, and then you
Done.
never deal with him again.
Correct.
So Bill, when after you built and designed the Megastore, I'm curious to because with the multiple locations and then even the Key West location, I'm not even sure.
And
what
a new
year was that?
Sanford location.
Yeah, and then,
Congratulations.
just
Sanford's
still
coming up. Well, we got a storm coming up. It's going to put
Might
that
be
off, so-
Friday. We might
Yeah,
have to
I
put it off a few
know.
days.
I probably shouldn't have said anything,
I know,
stupid
yeah.
Daniel.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. But the Key West location, because I mean, even we joke around with Deborah too. Even the recession and stuff, you could still there was a couple houses for sale for $300,000 in Alamorado. Or whatever. I mean, me and my wife this is the middle of the housing recession. We're $300,000. We pull all the people we know's money together,
do it.
and then it become unattainable anymore. But Key West is a sought after also a huge commitment too to open up a store that far away from the original. Like when
Well,
did
I
that
lived
happen?
down there for what, Deborah, 15 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
I was the president of the board of Fantasy Fest for 10 years. Greatly involved with the community, but it changed.
What
How's it down there?
What do you think
It's
changed?
The
More
whole
commercial?
flavor has changed.
Is it all more corporate because so much money came in? How does that?
Well, it's gotten to where that you can't live there, like you just said, and work there.
Yeah, it's
The average price of a house, of a little house, is $1 million.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, a crappy 2-1 trailer is $1 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah. And that's just not feasible for real people to, you can't.
Don't they have
I
like
have-
housing? They put some employees in on like the north side of the island or some like subsidized thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good thought, but they really haven't made it work.
There's not enough room.
Right.
You know,
Every town has a suburb except Key West. It's got rocks and island and water.
When do they put a cruise ship out there just to house employees? Like,
Yeah.
it seems like
I mentioned that to them almost 20 years ago.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, me and you, Bill, we're
Instead
good.
of
He's 20 years ahead of you.
these carnival ships that they're ripping apart over there and wherever that they go to the boat graveyard,
Yeah.
they just park one of them out there,
And just use
sink it in the mud,
Yeah.
so that it won't
Yeah.
move
he's
in a
right.
hurricane, and then pump it back up if you have to move it. And you got room in there for 2,000 people.
That's true.
Oh,
They'll make it nice, because if you make it too nice, everybody's going to want to.
Get tired of hot dogs every night
Yeah.
when I go.
But
Yeah, well,
like,
yeah.
every
And then
meal's
they
a
put
hot
the-
dog.
they put-
Why? Because I live on the cruise ship.
Then they put the TikTok video of the condition. There's all of those doo-doo pipes exploding. And they're like, it's not that bad. But it's bad.
Now we got limited time, so you
know.
better get your best ones.
So Bill, I strive to be like you one day as far as the
old and fat and gray. I like it.
But I'll never. Here's why I'll never be, because I won't have the experiences that I'm sure you've seen. Just the same.
You do. You have a lot of experiences.
No,
I
not
think
like
both
Bill,
of us
though.
do.
No, Bill. The Fantasy Fest alone. Here's the thing. We got to talk to you again, Bill, because there's so many different stories. Like
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into moonshine.
just being on the board of directors of
I
a Fantasy Fest for that long, and that whole like the Key West element is fascinating because it's a fascinating place. And
just like the balance of the commercialization and the love of Key West of the world and the locals and people that live there and want to keep its integrity. I mean, I'm sure that's not
Well,
fun.
what happened to Key West was VRBO.
Oh,
And VRBO took everybody that could take their house and they could rent it out to the whole house to a whole family.
yeah.
And there's nowhere for the workers to live.
Yeah. It's all vacation houses. That's kind of what's happening to Florida.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
they're at the point now where that they don't have bartenders. They can't cover the shifts.
Yeah, people
so
can't live there.
Yeah.
It's like, we
Just
have all these
visiting.
places for
Yeah.
rent, but there's nothing here for you to do because all the
Yep.
people that would work here and live here, it's not a functioning city.
people
Yeah.
that worked for me down there back in the days, it was even. I mean, I bought employee housing. It got flooded. I've tried everything. I've tried everything.
It just
And-
didn't work.
Well, the people lived on boats, out dropped in a hook. There's an anchorage out there, and they would row their boats in, and they would work, and they'd row their boat back out, and they'd stay, and they would raise their families. The kids were all homeschooled, living out there on a boat. But now there's not that many anchorages. They cut those back out.
Right.
Houseboat Road's gone. There's nowhere to live. And any piece of available property is now becoming apartments or condos or
Right.
rentals.
Yeah, because there's more money in that than renting it out to an
And it's all
employee.
corporate.
Bingo.
Yeah, but you need employees. It seems like a problem that it will come to a head at
Yeah.
some point where
They
the
won't
no
be
I think
there.
we're
store-
getting close.
Yeah,
down there,
I think we
yeah.
might be.
Well, I had a conversation with him about 15 years ago. I said, all right, so if all this goes through that as you plan it, I'll serve you drinks next week, and then you serve me drinks the following week because we got to do something.
It'd be the only option. Well,
Like a trade out.
Bill, we got to get you back in again, just because there's so many different. It went too fast, and like
It really did. I was looking at the time, and I knew we're really stretching this one. So Casey,
No, I
if you're
know.
listening, I apologize, buddy.
But we'll have you back in again. I know that you're up north now, but you come to Orlando.
Yeah,
or
we'll like
Fairvilla out
zoom you
there.
in or something.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's so good to see you, man.
I just put in at my cabin. My cabin was settled in 1766
Oh my God!
in North Carolina.
See, this
Yeah.
is going to be part 2 because we haven't even gotten into his new, I won't say it again, but his new things he likes. And there's all kinds of new things he's into because he did all that other stuff. We're talking about the way past.
You'll never guess what I just bought myself for my birthday.
What?
We're
Powered paraglider.
let me
Cigarette
see.
boat. I'm trying to think of things
Been
I
there,
want.
done that.
Hold on.
Think of North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Did you buy
Awesome side by side.
mini donkeys? Too many donkeys.
A mountain.
That's a real good thought, though.
Yeah, mini donkeys are all, I'm in love with mini donkeys.
mini
What'd you get,
Yeah.
Bill?
I got a John Deere tractor with all the implements, all
Every
the bells,
toy you can get.
everything
Yeah,
you can
whether you
get
need it or not.
delivered.
Yeah.
October 5th, I'm going to have a party. I'm going to learn how to operate the backhoe and the loader. And
Are you a manual guy? Do you sit out there and you savor every page and you hit every button? That's me.
I've already read the book.
Yeah, see, that's me. And you hit every button and you back it out
Oh,
slow.
yeah.
You been putting
When
it
I
in,
called
seat up,
the
seat down.
dealership
Yeah.
and told them what I wanted, my conversation was about 3 minutes.
give me them all. Yeah, this is what I do. I go, give me it all. Hit every switch. They're like, when can you get it?
Here's
Give me
the
the
list.
fastest you can get it.
I
Boom.
emailed it to them.
Yeah.
Bam.
I love
Well,
it.
Bill, thanks so
Thank
much
you for the
coming.
time, man.
Deborah,
We
thank you.
appreciate
anytime,
you.
guys.
Please tell your lady we said
I can
hello.
zoom away because I just put in Wi-Fi up there.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
We'll talk
That's
to you
what
again.
we'll do. Hey, we need to connect him with Matt Mormon too.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Because they're
No
all in
Mormon.
super
Super
all
garage,
these super
yeah.
No,
garages.
Mormon. I don't need a fast drive.
Oh no.
It's Fairvilla.
I got my own deal with God right now.
Check out Fairvilla.com. You guys know.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
We'll see you next week.